What is up, guys? Teddy Cornwell here. Welcome to the Underdog Talk, the most underrated podcast on earth. And there's something about the Underdog. Let's fucking cut the intro. You guys see him. Today's guest is the man himself, nicknamed Raging, holding a professional record of 14 wins and 17 losses. The big fella, Raging Iaquinta. What the fuck is up, man? How you doing today?
What's up, man? What's up? 7 losses, not 17.
Did I say?
Seven's enough.
Did
17.
I really say
Like, those would be
seven?
on the other side of my head.
Yeah, and I knew. Ain't that something? 14. Let me do that. 14 wins and 7 losses, above 500. And I just got to remember my favorite win against Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. You beat that motherfucker to the pulp. But Al, before we even get into UFC fighting, you've got to be the first UFC fighter turned realtor in the world. Can you name me another realtor who was a UFC fighter?
Now we got a bunch of them. Now we got Jessica Penne. We got Joseph Benavides. I think that Megan O'Leary might have got her license as well. Aljamain Sterling has his New York State real estate license. Yeah, no, it's I think it's a great avenue for fighters when they're fighting, especially when they're done fighting. It's this real estate game. It's a competition, and it's a very similar competition to fighting. And I think that every fighter needs something to do in their downtime. And while you're having downtime during your career, you can be getting ahead of the game. So when your career is over, you take off and just start sprinting in the real estate industry.
You are a smart motherfucker, Al. That is how you do it. And most NFL athletes do the same thing after their career, get into real estate. Now, why pick real estate when you could have picked any other job after your career?
I think I was around people that preached real estate. I was coached by Uriah Faber on The Ultimate Fighter, and he was while he was fighting during his career, he was investing in real estate. And I went out to Sacramento. He showed me his houses. He had a whole block of houses when they were giving mortgages out to everybody back in the day. He bought a bunch of houses, filled them up with fighters, rented them out. It was house hacking. Now they call it in the real estate business house hacking. You're living in a property and renting out rooms to kind of break even or even make a little money. But he was doing that. He was doing it before it even had a name. And I saw that. I was like, this is the blueprint. This is what it's all about. So I saw how smart he was in everything. He had his hands in everything, and real estate was a big part of it. So I made it a big part of what I was looking to do in advancing in my career and everything. And yeah, just a bunch of things fell into place, and it was always real estate. It always kind of went back to real estate. And you make large sums of money in fighting, and if you don't invest it somewhere, it's going to disappear somehow. So that you get that check, you get a couple wins, throw it into a property, and that property is only going to increase in value. It's only going to bring income in. It's an asset, and that's the blueprint right there.
Well, thank you for fucking telling me that how to sell a house now and get my property. I needed to know that. Now, is there a same kind of high you get from selling a house as knocking someone out?
I gotta, not the exact same, but it is. You do get some sort of a high. There's, in the process of a real estate transaction, there's times where you're like, I don't know if this is gonna happen. You got to keep a real strong, positive attitude because things will pop up and there'll be obstacles that you have to, just like a tough opponent. You might be in a bad spot in a fight and you got to really push through it. And when these obstacles come about in the course of a transaction, you can't cower and back away. You got to attack them head on, and you got to figure out a way to get it done. And then when you get to the closing table and you get that check and you see your buyers or your sellers across the table, they're happy, they got everything, that you're like God to them at that point. You made this happen for them. They look at you like you just knocked somebody out. You knocked the deal out. It's a home knockout right there. So it's similar in a lot of ways, not in a 15 minutes. It's kind of drawn out over a couple month period. But yeah, you can be in a deep arm bar and they straighten it out, and you're gonna have to hitchhike and find another lender to put the money together, get these guys financed, and put this deal through. It's very, very similar in a lot of ways.
And I mean, you got to be raging, baby. Now we had UFC star Alexei Olenek on the podcast, and we talked about mindset. In the face of the threat, the opponent, and he laughed and he said, "Of course, there's nervousness, but now, Al, when you were going into the octagon, what was going through your mind pre-fight? I mean, is it the same as pre-selling a house, or is it a different kind of mindset?"
Uh, yeah, yeah. I think I was more confident definitely in the UFC. My first couple of fights were pretty similar as like going to show a house the first time. I really didn't know what I was doing per se, but I knew I was going to be able to figure it out. Kind of like I didn't know what I was getting into, which my first couple of fights as an amateur way back, 15, 20 years ago was kind of like that, where I didn't know. I knew I had wrestled, so I knew, what was going to happen, but I didn't know exactly. Uh, but then you figure it out. You get yourself in a situation, figure it out later on in fighting. Yeah, I was going to the cage knowing I was 100% prepared. I was as prepared as I was going to be, and I was going to roll the dice, trust in my instincts, and know that no matter what came, I was going to push through. And if I won, I was, and if not, I knew I did everything right. That's when it's the best. And it's kind of the same thing with selling house. Now I've been through the process a million times, and I've seen all the houses. I've worked with all types of people. So no matter what comes my way, I know that I can put the deal together. And if I can't, then I don't think anybody can.
Oh yeah, man. And I mean, you had a stellar UFC career. I mean, I grew up watching you and just admiring your aggression in the cage. Now, I mean, 14 wins and 7 losses, fucking not 17. Now, one loss impressed me the most, and I think that was the one against Habib, where you went all 5 rounds with him, and which not many people can say, and it came down to decision. So, what was it like going up against arguably the best fighter of all time?
Yeah, it was a whirlwind of circumstance going into that one. Took the fight. Uh, was supposed to fight Paul Felder in a 3 round. It was supposed to open the main card, and now bumped up to a 5 round fight against the champ. Habib, like you said, if not the greatest, one of the greatest to ever do it. And yeah, I went out there. I didn't have too much time to really prepare for him, which could have been a good thing, could have been a bad thing. He didn't have time to prepare for me, and I just said I was going to go out there and rely on my career's, my lifetime's work, and just put everything that I knew out there and do. I was going to eh, push the pace, but I was also I was a little weary of the 5 rounds. I wanted to pace myself, but definitely put it on him. Didn't want to be against the cage towards the end of the fight. He got me against the cage a bunch and took me down. He's so good against the cage. And once he gets you down against the cage, he's so good at locking your legs up and landing big shots and doing big damage. His striking was good, slowed me down a little bit with the wrestling exchanges, and then he landed a bunch of jabs. But yeah, I went out there and gave it my all. That's for sure.
Damn fucking right you did. And hey, I mean, you lasted longer than Conor McGregor. Now, you know, obviously, looking at your wins, I mean, your most impressive win to me was the win against Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. But which win to you in your career meant the most and was the most significant win for you?
Uh, they all have like their little.
Yeah,
Kevin Lee was always a good one. The
he almost
second
was.
one, I beat him the first time, and then the second time that he had been talking for years and years trying to get that one back, and then he got ranked above me, and he kind of forgot about me, and then we ended up putting it together. Now, uh, yeah, I think mentally I was just on a different. It was just a different. I was playing a different game. Um, the Ross Pearson fight was an awesome fight. That was like one of my first big. That was the guy that I watched on The Ultimate Fighter when I was just starting, and you know, then going to Australia where he's kind of like an adopted Australian. Got a quick win, didn't get injured in Australia, Sydney, Australia in I think it was November. It's like the summer, so the seasons are opposite. So it was starting to be real cold winter here. You leave here, you go there. It's summer. We cruised up and down the coast of Australia and met some cool people. Just had a party. That was a great experience and a great fight. That always sticks out.
And I mean, something about the underdog. Don't you dare sleep on Raging Al is all I'm going to say right here, right now.
I
Now,
love it, man. I love it. I love the underdog. Everyone loves a good underdog,
I'm right.
and yeah, no, I just you, everyone can sympathize with an underdog, somebody that's not supposed to win, and that's why you play the game. You play the game for the underdog. The person that's outmatched,
Yep.
that's maybe not as big, not as fast, and as strong, and really shouldn't win, but somehow in sports and athletics, those guys get the momentum. Somehow they get the belief in winning, and 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 it's an incredible concept. So it's even in like nature. You see, I scroll through Instagram. I don't know. I must have watched one video where like an alligator attacks a zebra and like
Oh,
just
fuck.
like and so now they pop up all the time on my Instagram, and I see it all the time, and I'm like, "Come on, zebra! You just kick them
Hey.
out of there." You root for the underdog and everything, and that's what it's all about. You want to be the alligator, but but uh, but sometimes you're the zebra, and you got to figure out a way to get the hell out of there.
You know who really likes that shit? Snoop Dogg loves the fucking alligator zebra fights. I don't know why Uncle Snoop likes that so much, but there is something about the zebra as well. I mean, when you're an underdog, you have nothing to lose and you have everything to gain. I mean, no one's betting on you, no one's favoring you. And as they say, there is nothing as sweet as when an underdog wins. Now, Al, we talked about why you picked real estate. Why pick to be a UFC fighter? Obviously, you have a wrestling background, but not why not go into wrestling? In Olympics, why pick UFC to showcase your talents?
Yeah. I mean, I was definitely like more of a late bloomer in that aspect. In high school and college, I was like never the strongest or like the most. Uh, I was just I needed more ways to win. I think I needed boxing and kickboxing and then jujitsu. It was just wrestling one on one. A lot of I was good, but not like definitely not Olympic level. But I think mixed martial arts gave me more avenues to victory, and you can kind of outthink a guy more. Longer fight, different kind of cardiovascular than the wrestling. I mean, you're right. You could be in sick shape kickboxing, and you wrestle with somebody for 2 minutes, and you're absolutely exhausted. So it's a little, the wrestling definitely prepared me for mixed martial arts. But yeah, I think for me, more avenues of victory is better tailored towards my body style, my athletic ability, and that kind of stuff.
Hell yeah! Now, obviously, UFC is definitely a dangerous sport. No questions asked. Would you let your kid participate in UFC after you've been through it?
Man, that's a good question. Uh, I think I would kind of try to direct in other. avenues.
Yeah.
Business is great. You always want to play. I think athletics growing up is so important in
Yeah.
teaching so many life skills, especially one-on-one sports. Team sports are great, but I really feel like one-on-one sports. I think wrestling is the best
Yeah.
base for life. If you can have some success in wrestling one-on-one. You wrestled 4 years in high school. You see guys that weren't good in their freshman year just work and work and work. The amount of work you put in is the results you get. And in wrestling, it's there. You can't blame the defense. You can't blame your coach for giving the other guy playing time. It's like if you beat the guy in the wrestle off, you're starting. If you're starting and you go 500, you got to work harder. There are certain guys that can beat you. It tells you a lot about yourself. It teaches you a lot about yourself. It's exhausting when you're just exhausted, calorie depleted, dehydrated, and you can wake up and go for a run at 6 a.m. because you got to make weight at 8. There's that says if you can do that, you can do anything. There's nothing. That's why a lot. I really think there's no one can work as hard as me in the real estate. There's obviously definitely people that are working super hard and smart, but one thing I have over everybody is the work ethic, and I
Yeah.
think that's really what's going to set me apart from everybody.
That discipline. I mean, that discipline you learn from that is second to none. Now, what is your biggest tip for someone who is looking to become a UFC star like you once were, sir?
Coaching is there's so many factors. There's so many factors. I mean, at this point, you really got to start young. It's super super difficult to start a fighting career unless you've been doing all disciplines from an early stage. You know, a lot of when I started, it was you were a boxer or you were a wrestler or you were a jujitsu guy, and then maybe like in your 20s or your late, you added everything on. Now, from 5 years old, these kids are doing boxing, jujitsu, wrestling, kickboxing. So it's the sport has just you see Raul Rosa, 18 years old. That guy's got a well-rounded game.
Mm-hmm.
It's evolving, at an insane pace. And so I think you gotta start young. You gotta have it. And that's not to, maybe you still want to get into it a little later in life, and that's cool. But I don't know if you want to be competing with those guys that have been doing it their entire life. Just go, for a hobby, it's the best. I still train. I'm still in the gym, and my friends still someone texted me before, should I go to this jujitsu place? I live in Florida now, and this this jujitsu place I'm thinking about. I go, bro, there's no better workout than jujitsu and kickboxing, boxing. Wrestling's a little tough later on, if after you definitely when you have a 3 in your age, you're 30 and above, wrestling is brutal. But like jujitsu is a lifetime. You can do that forever with the gi. And kickboxing, you could hit the pads, hit the bag. You're always learning. You're constantly learning and evolving. So I think that it's a great thing later on. But if you want to be in the UFC, you got to find a good coach. Definitely want to surround yourself with people that are in the UFC. If you're in a gym that has just amateur fighters and there's nobody, it's going to be very difficult to be the first one from the gym in the UFC. You want to be in a gym where there's coaches that have coached guys in the UFC, fighters that are fighting in the UFC, and you'll very quickly see if you have what it takes if you surround yourself with those kind of people and if something that you really want to do.
Hell yeah, coaching is, I mean, for anything in life. I mean, they've been there, done that. Now, Al, final question. If Uncle Dana White were to call you right now and ask you, do you want a title shot? And we'll say the opponent is Conor McGregor. Would you come out of retirement to take that fight?
uh, I mean, I'd have to train. I'd have to train. I'd have to get in shape.
I'd give you a year.
Oh, a year.
Yeah, we're not
Now
talking
we're battling against time though. I think
Ooh.
like then I'm gonna be like, you know what I mean? So it's gotta be like just enough time to get in shape We got to pray that I'm stay injured the whole time, and then we're in. But I'm saying yes right away. Definitely saying yes, and then figuring it out. That's what I do. I say yes, and then I figure it out. I think that's a good way to do stuff. If you're presented with an opportunity, even if it's a very difficult opportunity, and maybe a lot of people wouldn't take it, just say yes and figure it out.
Damn right. Such is life. You live and you learn now, Al. I mean, damn, now you got me wanting to watch your highlights again, big fella. But before we go, the floor is yours. Where can we find your real estate? I mean, do you have a website? What's your social media? What are you working on now? The floor is yours, big fella.
Iaquintarealestate.com. That's the website. Buy, sell, rent. You can hop on and see how much your property's worth. You enter in your property info, and it'll spit out a number, and then we can talk about it. But at Al Iaquinta, Twitter, Instagram, got a grand opening. Iaquinta Real Estate is opening ribbon cutting May 16th, 5:30 in Wantagh Avenue at Iaquinta Real Estate headquarters. Come on down. There'll be food. There'll be you can get your picture taken with House Bert. We got a House Bert. He's a costume. He's gonna be running. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a party. Shooters right next door. We got beer. We got liquor. It's gonna be a party, and maybe we can get you into a property.
Well, fuck taking the picture with the costume. We want to take a picture with the fucking star UFC fighter.
Me and the House Bert.
Okay, good. I was about to say, who the hell would want a picture with them when you're there? Now, do you only do real estate in your specific state, or do you do real estate throughout the whole country?
Throughout the whole country, anywhere in the United States. If you're looking to buy or sell, I can help you out. I've done deals in Atlanta, in California, and a few other places. New Jersey. Yeah. No, I've done deals all over the place, and yeah, I have a strong network across the country.
Well, first person to buy, sell, or even rent from Al, send me a screenshot and we'll have a big gift basket for you on the way. I mean, discipline, badassness. I don't think I would want anyone else besides Al as my realtor. And I mean, I'm personally looking to rent too. So I'm going to have to go on the website and check you out. But all that stuff will be in the bio. I mean, definitely check that out. And if you can't buy a house, rent a house yet, or even sell a house, I mean, be there and take a picture with Al. And that alone will be worth $1,000,000. I mean, one more time, the big fella, Raging Al. I mean, Al, thank you so much, sir, for your advice, your wisdom, and teaching me how to buy and sell a house in a sense. But until next time, guys, Underdog out.